Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video, I'm going to talk about tables. Sometimes we will need to lay out text in a fairly specific way. An example might be if we want to show the player some details about the player characters. I have a very simple example here. We have headings that say name, AC, and HP. We might imagine they stand for armor class and hit points. And of course, we need the data to line up with these headings. We need the names to be under the name heading. We need the AC to be under the AC heading. We need the HP to be under the HP heading. And to ensure that that happens, you need a table. So let's look at the code that makes this happen. So we start with a single less than, the word table, T-A-B-L-E, and then a greater than. The fact that we're using single less than and greater than rather than doubles tells us that we are using a command that comes from the HTML language, which is the default language for laying out websites, rather than from Sugarcube itself. So we have this command that tells us this is the start of a table, and so at the end we need to have a command that says this is the end of the table, and that is, as you can see here, less than / table greater than. The main two commands that we will be using are tr and td. tr stands for table row, td stands for table datum, I think, or table data. tr tells us to start a new row of the table, and td tells us to start a new cell within that row. And then we have the corresponding slashes to tell us that it is the end of the cell or the end of the row. So the structure of a HTML table is that we have the opening command that says this is the start of a table. Then we have a tr to say this is the start of the first row. Then we have a series of td, the contents of a cell, and /td. When we've done the whole row, we have a /tr to indicate that's the end of the row. And then we start a new row, and it has the same structure, and we keep going until we are out of rows, and then we close off the table. So even a simple table, you can see that this is like a very small set of data. It does take up quite a lot of space. It looks like there's a lot of code there, but once you know what to do, it's fairly simple. So we have the table command, tr, td, then we have the bold command, as we saw in the previous video, and within that we have name. So that is setting up this first cell here. We close off that cell, we go to a new cell, we do something similar with AC. We close off that cell, we do the same thing with hit points, and then we've come to the end of the row, so we do a /tr. So that takes us up to these three cells. Then we have a new row, which has apparently Albrecht's details. So we have Albrecht, and then his scores are apparently 12 and 20, and we close off the row. And then finally we do the same thing with this other character, Lisa Lotta, whose scores are apparently 10 and 22. And that is a very simple table. Now, this table is created, as it were, by hand, meaning that I've put all of the numbers directly into the code. And that's not normally how you would do it. Normally you would be reading variables from an array. And I will show you an example of that in the next video. But I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.